Hello and welcome to yesterday's airlines. It is late March now, and we have had a couple of release announcements from major brands in the last few days. And first up on the ranking videos is NG Models, who have announced a very small set for them for their March announcements. Now, last month they announced quite a small set as well. I think there were over 20 models, but there was a lot of very close similarity to many of the releases. This month, there's a lot less models. We just got, I think, 10 or 11 releases in this set, and they're saying that this is because of Chinese New Year and the impacts of that, and that next month they'll be back to standard release sets. So we'll take them at their word and leave it at that. There's an interesting set of models here. So we'll get around to having a look at those in just a second. Before we do that, as always, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who supports my channels. I really appreciate it. There's been some really good growth recently at all of my channels, and I'm very pleased to be over the 2,500 subscriber mark on YouTube. So please subscribe to that channel if you're not a subscriber already, and don't forget to chuck a like on the video if you're enjoying it. Over at Instagram, that channel's doing really well as well and has just gone over 6,000 followers, so I really appreciate that too. Don't forget, I also am posting really regularly at yesterdaysairlines.com, so don't forget to check that out because there's always a lot of cool content there, including a weekly review of a particular model that comes to my collection and lots of other content too. Okay, now before we get over to check out this month's NG model releases, I've got something special to mention. And that is a sponsorship. So this is the first time that I've done something quite like this. So I appreciate you listening, but I have partnered up with Northeast Diecast to offer you guys a special coupon code to help shop at their site. Now, Northeast Diecast, as the name suggests, is a diecast retailer that's up there, I think in Boston, so on the east coast of the United States. And Matt, who runs Northeast Diecast, is a specialist in picking up collections and selling those on. So check out Northeast Diecast's website because he gets a lot of really properly rare models in at the site, and there's some really cool stuff on there. A lot of models that I am interested in or already own actually, and there's some really good models there. So don't forget to check out Northeast Diecast, and when you do check out Northeast Diecast, don't forget to use the special coupon code from Yesterday's Airlines. If you put Yesterday's Airlines 15 in your trolley at checkout, then you will get 15% off your purchase. The minimum is $100, which generally isn't too hard to get to nowadays, the price of model airliners, and it's just for his online store and you can't combine it with other discount. But 15% off is a really good discount, I think. So please use that coupon, Yesterday's Airlines 15 at Northeast Diecast, and check out the website. They've got a lot of cool stock, and I know he's got a new collection coming in soon, which he's told me has got some really cool stuff. In fact, he sent me a picture, and there was some amazing Aero Classics in there. Lots of US 727s and DC-8s, and lots of really good stuff. So check out Northeast Diecast and chuck that coupon Yesterday's Airlines 15 in when you're buying the models. Okay, cool. Now let's get on and check out what NG are offering us for March. Okay, so we're going to start with a model which doesn't appear on all the official lists for obvious reasons. But this one is a 737-800. It's Alaska Airlines, and it's in a Disneyland scheme. Mickey's Toontown Express colors. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I have to say that a bit of Goofy and a bit of Donald, not that Donald, but this Donald, a bit of this Donald, the duck version, these guys, warm my heart far more than Pikachu does. So I really like these Disney schemes, and they're pretty cool. But obviously, there are some severe, serious licensing issues around these, which is why this is not appearing in all of the most obvious lists and things. But it clearly is going to be an excellent model. Now, what is interesting actually is that NG have already made M565AS, the same aircraft that this special scheme is on. They made it before, but wearing the standard Alaska colours. So it's quite cool to actually have two versions of the same aircraft in your collection wearing different liveries. I always like that kind of connection. So this is a really cool scheme, and it's going to be an excellent looking plane because the mould that Aussie NG have got for their 707-800 is superb. So really liking the look of this one. And interestingly, I had heard, and this could be a rumour, but I had heard that Gemini had lost the licence for Alaska, and I'm pretty sure that NG have got a long list of Alaska releases stored up for the near future. So this is probably just the first of many Alaska Airlines releases from NG this year. I think this is going to be a great model. It's not quite supersonic for me. I always preferred Warner Brothers, man. Give me Bugs Bunny and Daffy over Goofy and Donald. But still, it's pretty cool. I'll put this one up in the high flyer. Now, next up, we have got some bloody Pikachu. So we've got a Garuda Indonesian Pokemon jet, and there's just no way that these, Asian branded cartoons, have the same emotional impact with me as the American ones. So, I don't hate Pokemon, but I'm not loving it either. And this isn't the first time this one's been made either, I have to say. If you're looking in the database, there has been a couple of previous releases of this model, both in 2024. Phoenix made it, and JC Wings also made it, though I'm not entirely certain whether the JC version is out. The Phoenix one certainly is. I've seen a picture of it, and actually it looks surprisingly good. I mean, I think Phoenix have been modifying their 737-800, so it doesn't look as shocking as it used to, and they actually nowadays can print the cockpit on. Having said that, it isn't really going to be a particularly strong competitor with the NG version. But yeah, the scheme isn't doing much for me, I have to say. Even though I do collect Indonesian Airlines, I'm not getting these Pokemon versions. I'm just going to put this one into Workhorse. Cool. Now, next, we've got the requisite couple of Chinese releases for the month. We've got a pair, well, actually a trio, but one is the same as the others, just Ultimate Collection. A trio of Air China 777-300 ERs. B2032 is the registration, and you may recognise that reg as being the only Star Alliance 777 in the Air China fleet. So this is an inevitable kind of set of releases from NG. They're bound to produce these because they hadn't already, and obviously this is core Chinese stuff. What is interesting actually is that there haven't been hundreds of releases of this aircraft previously. I kind of would have expected there to have been more. Phoenix made one in 2012. There's a 2013 version of JC Wings, which I actually own. And there's a 2017 pair from JC2, and I own one of those as well. I own the one with the mismatched nose cone. And then there's a couple from Aviation 400 which have been made in 2022 and 2023. So there are 5 or 6, but there aren't huge numbers. And actually, those releases themselves are split, much like these NG ones, between two different versions of the Star Alliance scheme. One which has this 15th anniversary logo next to the Star Alliance title. So the schemes are slightly different, not exactly the same. So, yeah, actually, I'm not sure whether to get a replacement for my old JC Wings version or not, which has the 15 logo. That old JC one, the mold's not bad, but the undercarriage is not great. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether to replace it or not. These ones will obviously be really nice because the NG 777s are really nice. If I owned the standard version of the 2017 release from JC, I don't think I'd be replacing it. If I own the AV400 ones, I don't think I'd be replacing them. But I don't actually have the version which doesn't have the 15 on it. Is it big enough to make me buy them? Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the one which doesn't have the 15 logo up into High Flyer. That one actually seems to have been released less historically. There seem to have only been 2 versions of that, and one of those was from 2012. And I'll put the other one into Workhorse. They're solid Chinese releases, and they'll look good. And I am tempted, but not sure. Next up, we've got some 747-8s. And when you've got a mould which hasn't been used many times, or hasn't been, sold many aircraft, then you've got to really work to get some liveries out of it. But one of the most obvious liveries to use and create is Korean Air. And I know a couple of collectors on the forums who have been screaming for a NG Korean Air 747-8 for so long and haven't had one. So they're super happy that NG has announced HL7644, the last passenger 747-8 built. And this again should be a super good looking model, but it isn't actually the first time, far from it, that there has been a Korean 747-8. Just recently, only in October, HX Models produced several, some with special schemes and some without, one with flaps down too. And looking at the pictures of those, to be honest, they look really good. The HX mold is a good mold. It's not as good as the NG, mainly because of the way the wing joins the fuselage. But it's still looking pretty good. There's also been a JC Wings edition from January 2024. And to be honest, I didn't really like the look of that one that much. I'm not sure the blue colour is particularly good. And it kind of accentuates the slightly incorrect look of the cockpit region, I think, on the mould. So I'm not loving that one as much. The temptation is to put this one as supersonic, but realistically, it has been made before, and the HX ones do look quite good. These ones will be better. I'm just going to put this one up into High Flyer. And obviously, this is in the classic Korean scheme, not that abomination which Korea has just announced, which presumably will get on to 747-8s in time. I'm really not a fan of that. Obviously, the trend for airlines to use fewer and fewer and fewer colours is just so tedious. I know that it saves them money, and I know it saves weight, and so it's all to do with efficiency and money, as almost everything is in the airline industry, but it looks awful. The new Korean scheme, really a disappointing livery change, up there with the China Eastern and the Japan Airlines and Finnair and some other of the really shocking liveries which are out there in the world today. So not a big fan of that new livery, but we haven't had one of those yet. Give it a couple of months, I'm sure we will. Okay, next up we've got a couple of fantasy models, fundamentally. VC-25B, so these are the new Air Force Ones. Now, I was just literally reading up that apparently the delivery of these frames is delayed now till 2029. So who knows whether these aircraft are even going to enter service. I imagine they will, because there aren't really many options or alternatives for the type. But these are firmly fantasy releases in my universe. Now, the two that we've got here come in the 2 different liveries which have been kind of shown. We've got the kind of classic looking scheme, which, to be honest, I've never been a giant fan of. I don't love that livery with the blue kind of mask in front. And it's kind of classic, but it's not a great classic scheme, in my opinion. And then we've got the version that was the livery which was, I think, announced by Trump in his first term, which actually is probably a better scheme to my eye, though the flags are boring on the tail. I'm sure they could do something a bit more exciting with the flag. But yeah, I mean, obviously I'm just loving the US at the moment, but regardless of all of that, they're just big fantasy releases. I don't think I'd buy them because of that. I mean, if you look, for example, at the classic one, it's got all the bulges and aerials and things on it, and if you look at the Trumpy version, it doesn't have as many, and that's just, I presume, because they don't know what the exact finished aircraft's going to look like. I'm also not sure if these aircraft are going to have in-flight refueling like the existing ones do, and if they do, then that would probably add another, appendage to the airframe as well. So, yeah, when you buy these, just be aware that you're getting what is in effect a fantasy aircraft, and obviously in 4 years is a long time. Who knows whether these things will ever fly, let alone what scheme they're going to wear. So yeah, they look fine, but at the same time, they're going to be fantasies. I'm going to put them into Workhorse for those reasons. Now, the next model in our list is an MD-80, which is always a positive thing to see. And this one, N999 Delta November, is in the current scheme of Delta Airlines. The NG MD-80 is really, really good. And they've made a few tweaks to the strakes on the forward fuselage, and it's looking even better. It certainly easily outcompetes the competition. There have been a couple of releases of MD-80s in this livery, but the last one was in 2018. They're both from Gemini. And again, they're both okay, but nowhere near as good as this one's going to be. This is too new for me, and it's not the sort of MD-80 I'm looking for, but clearly it's going to be in high demand. Clearly it is going to be a great model. So, yeah, I'm going to put this one up into supersonic. Now, two models that are conspicuous by their absence from this video are the 100 years Delta Airlines A350 and A321. Even though I believe they have been announced, I can't see them for sale anywhere. So I'm going to hold off talking about those until they start popping up. I can see the Phoenix versions, I can see the Panda versions. Gemini have just announced them too, but I can't see the NG ones. So I'm not going to waste my breath talking about them until I see more evidence of their existence. The last two video models in this release set, saving the worst for last, are a pair of Trump 757s. One's wearing the original scheme, I think, which has got the T on the tail, and one's got a much better US flag than that VC-25B has on its tail. So it's a good paint scheme. You've got to say, these Trump 757s have really, really, really nice paint schemes. Now, I did contemplate just chucking these in the scrap metal, but I think I'll take a slightly more nuanced approach and actually discuss the models a bit. They've both been made before, and when you look at that aspect of it, the T version, the version with the T on the tail, that was made in 2018, both by Gemini and NG, so that's effectively a re-release, and should be exactly the same, I assume, as the original 2018 NG release, which did look really good. The other version with the flag on the tail, as I say, it's a really good flag. They should just take that flag, put it on that other VC-25B. Anyway, that version has been made recently by Gemini. That was made, well, recently, May 2023, so not that recently, I agree. And I hadn't really paid much attention to it, but looking at photographs of it, obviously the mould is nowhere near as good as the NG version, but they also have messed up the cockpit window placing as well. It really doesn't look a particularly good finish. So, not a big fan of that release, even when you take out the owner of the aircraft. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with these, to be honest. As I said, I could just scrap metal them. Obviously, my views on Trump are well known, but I think I'll just put these in the Workhorse. I'm sure they're going to sell, really well because, but, and they should be really nice looking models, to be honest. But there is some irony in Trump voters buying Chinese models in the first place. But never mind. I'll put them in a Workhorse and just leave it at that. Okay, well that ends the look at the aircraft models that have been announced. But NG have also this month announced a series of stands also. So we've got 3 different versions of the metal stand, which attaches to the underside of the aircraft, and then 4 different versions of the new style plastic stands, which actually clip across the wings and will be more suitable for ongoing NG releases. I think NG are going to start getting rid of the stand holes and going to use these new type of stand And this will especially be useful for 737s because the NG 737 does not have a stand hole. And the pricing on the plastic stands looks incredible. It's like $1 or something, whereas the metal stands are more expensive. But anyway, good to know that there is this option to get stands from NG models, which is probably the first time that they've ever done this, selling stands independently, and the pricing looks pretty good. Not entirely sure the stands look particularly delightful, I have to say, but they'll do the job, no doubt. So if you're looking for stands, it looks like NG are going to be releasing quite a lot in the very near future. Okay, anyway, that is our look at NG's March announcements. It is a small set, but it is not a surprising set. Actually, this set is quite standard NG. You've got a couple of special schemes that no one else is going to make because of licensing. You've got some really standard Chinese material. You've got Delta, and you've got some pandering to Americans because the Chinese don't really care about politics. They still think they're going to win. So that's the set that we've got this month. It's not a bad set, though I'm not sure if I'll be getting personally any of these models. I may get the Air China 777, not sure. But I'm sure these releases will look fabulous because NG models releases generally look fabulous. So it's an okay set. Okay, cool. Well, that's the NGs for March. Gemini Jets has also just released its announcement, and that came out just, I think, yesterday, or was it the day before? It's not very long ago. So I will be getting to a video for that as well, and that has actually got a couple of pretty cool selection choices in it. So stay tuned for that video. That will be along next week. Maybe another video in between that one and this one. Not entirely certain. So stay tuned to the channel anyway. Subscribe. Don't forget to check out Northeast Diecast. There's got some really nice models there. And I'll see you next time at Yesterday's Airlines. Thanks very much for watching.